we might get to this. I don't think so, but I want to show you this because it annoys the shit out of me. Ladies and gentlemen, Glenn Beck is not satisfied with the JFK files, and he's got the reveal it all: Epstein, Hillary, and a UFO. Now, why the UFO in the center of this? Besides the word all, I suppose, which is yellow, the golden all. Why that? Well, because he wants you to think Epstein and Clinton instead of who would you obviously put next to this person except his running buddy for 25 fucking years, Donald John Trump. Nobody hung out with Jeffrey Epstein more than Donald Trump. No man. The only person that hung out with him more was Ghislaine Maxwell. So, anyways, but let's get to this first. Laura Ingraham interviewed Trump, and apparently she's in tepid to lukewarm to slightly spicy water, but broth. She's in spicy ramen broth. I'm just dreaming of the meal I can have that would clear my sinuses. I'm fine. I feel good. I did sleep about 4 hours last night. Believe me, from this point on, relative normalcy. All right, here we go. Laura Ingraham, full interview. Trump reveals Canada endgame, sounds off on rogue judges. Yeah, complains that I should be able to do unconstitutional things. The president is the signer of the final. I am a founding father just by being here. P.S. Joe Biden had no power. Right.
Down with.
Also, can I just say for the record? Yeah. Do I have? Yeah, I need to shrink that down. It's true. Hold on. There we go. Oh, this guy. Yeah. Shrink this down. Remember, hashtag Epstein, Epstein, Epstein. Every time they say Russia, 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 Epstein, 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 kids. Yeah. Just saying. Also, I thought I put the nut warning in here, and I don't know where it went. Nope, that's not the one. I apologize. I've got so much work to do once I'm not otherwise indisposed. All right, you're right. I don't have any private time. Let's do this.
President Trump in the diplomatic room at the White House. We talked Doge.
The diplomatic room. The other empty room with no fucking furniture in it. What? Where'd the table go? What? So let me get this right. If you hadn't brought those two chairs into the fucking room, the diplomat room is just like a lobby?
China, illegal immigration. He even told us what he sees for Barron's future. But we start tonight with the big news, his conversation with Vladimir Putin. Mr. President, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We got a readout.
How did she get taller than him? Seriously, what happened? What's happening? I mean, I understand she's got one of those bump filler things on her hair. I see the late night ads, and I just can't bring myself to do it. I don't want to look too, Ricky Rocket. But
Of your call with Vladimir Putin, and it was a fairly optimistic take. Vladimir Putin agreed to a ceasefire immediately on energy and infrastructure.
Which is not a ceasefire.
But not to a 30-day ceasefire.
So not to a ceasefire. I think it's just say not to a ceasefire. Okay, I won't hit the power plants, civilian targets. But what am I going to say? Yes, I'm going to hit civilian targets. This call is being recorded, shithole. Tell us what happened.
Well, you have a situation where you have a lot of guns pointing at each other foolishly.
Is that how war normally works?
Because it would have never happened if I were president. That was not a war that was supposed to happen.
It wasn't supposed to. You're right. It wasn't supposed to be a war. It was just supposed to be an invasion and a takeover.
And it did happen. So that's where we are. And right now.
It did? Are you sure?
You have a lot of guns pointing at each other, and a ceasefire without going a little bit further would have been tough. Russia has the advantage, as you know. They have encircled about 2,500 soldiers.
That's Kursk, asshole. That's in their country. They've been, hold on. Ukraine has like 750,000 soldiers. They've encircled 2,500. Yeah. Week to week, dum-dum.
They're nicely encircled, and that's not good.
I see. That's not good to be nicely encircled. I don't know. I kind of like to be nicely encircled. Maybe even a little roughly encircled. What?
And we want to get it over with. Look, we're doing this. There are no Americans involved. There could be if you end up in World War III over this, which is so ridiculous. But, you know, strange things happen.
They don't just happen. It's a series of occurrences. Like you're president now. If it happens on your watch, it will be your responsibility. It didn't just happen.
And I think we had a great call. It lasted almost 2 hours. Talked about a lot of things.
Yeah, the first hour you were on hold.
And toward getting it to peace. And we talked about other things also.
Was there not?
I'm sorry, you weren't able to solve it all in one phone call in 1 hour because you knew exactly what to say. So you had to make fucking chit-chat.
Negotiables.
Listen to me. I think Kevin O'Leary's rubbing off me. Chit-chat? Chit-chat. What is that? It's not good. It tastes weird.
Mentioned by Putin. It was reported that I think the Kremlin media actually stated that he demanded an immediate cessation of aid to Ukraine in order to get to this multi-step deal.
No, he didn't. We didn't talk about aid. Actually, we didn't talk about aid at all. We talked about a lot of things, but aid was never discussed.
Yeah, because you don't consider weapons aid. Is that what you mean? Or are you trying to think? You think that other people don't think of military aid as aid, or maybe he thinks you go to stop giving them aids. What?
In the readout, it also stated that both sides want to get to an improved bilateral relationship, the United States and Russia.
That's true.
How can we trust that Vladimir Putin actually wants that, in that he's not also being influenced at the same time by his...
He's got his, excuse me, you're asking me an actual question face on? You're not supposed to ask me questions that need a real answer, lady.
Close friend, President Xi of China.
Well, look, we have our own discussions with President Xi of China, and he wants to get along also, and he's looking to get along, and we're looking to get along with him.
Yes, and a long little doggy while we're at it. We'll get along. Everybody gets along. We just got to get along. Why can't we all get along? Get along, little doggy.
We will. We have a problem of trade where we have a very big imbalance with China.
Yeah, because we buy a lot of wholesale goods from them, slap a label on them, and sell them to the rest of the world and to our own people at a jacked up price because drop shipping is a thing. And
with Russia, we don't have that much trade, and they'd like to. We'd like.
Yeah, oh, totally. I can't wait to get a Russian fucking phone. Babe, is your phone always on? Yeah, and the camera red light is always on. Why is it laughing? I just got a text message. This is your phone. There's an open window on 3rd floor. You should probably shut. Oh, I said, shit, you can't have a draft. That's inefficient. Excuse me, hon.
To also, they have
and scene.
Very valuable things for us, including very big forms of rare earth. They have a lot of earth. You know, they have.
They have a lot of earth because it's a big country. They have a lot of earth. Shit.
A big chunk of real estate, actually the biggest in the world for a country by far. And on that, they have things that we could use, frankly, and that other people could.
Vodka, hot chicks, models, you know. Douchebags with open shirt who think that the Dan Aykroyd and Steve Martin sketch in SNL was not comedy, but the way to be.
I think that President Xi would like to get along, and I think Russia wants to get along with the United States.
Yes, we're all going to get along. And that's the long and short of it.
States. I also think we're a much different country than we were just a few months ago. We're a country
Well, we're poorer. That's true.
that's now respected. We were not respected. We were being laughed at. We had incompetent leadership. This was a war, as an example, that would have never happened if I were president.
So you don't think it would have happened if you were president? So real quick, if it wouldn't have happened if you were president when it started, why isn't it stopping now that you are? Why aren't they like, oh shit, Dad's home. Everybody get back in bed and hide. He's good. If he knows we're up, we're fucked. Right? Why would that be? If it wouldn't have started with you just being in office, why didn't it just stop once you came back? Oh, because it was always the plan. You were just going to help him. And you fucked up.
Part of your desire to forge this new relationship with Russia also impacted by Russia's closer relationship since you left office in 2021 with China, because I think you talked about before the desire to box out China from that part of the world and have a closer relationship with Russia.
So as a student of history, which I am, and
oh no. Oh no. As we all remember in history class, I can't remember if it was a fellow student or the teacher who said something about me make pee-pee in your Coke. I've been following Chinese history for a long time. And no. He's going to say, people say you shouldn't let those two get together.
I've watched it all. The first thing you learn is you don't want Russia and China to get together.
That's the first thing you learn in history class? Okay. Why? Hey, asshole, they did get together. They're both the same. They were the same Soviet communist structure the entire length of the USSR. Dum-dum.
With that being said, no, it's not a big part of it, but maybe that'll happen or maybe it won't.
True leadership.
Obama really forced them together through energy and bad energy policies, and what he did, so many different things.
Yeah, but mainly what bad energy policies?
He forced a marriage which would never have taken place. It was not a natural. And for one reason, Russia has tremendous land, a lot of land, and
yeah, a lot of it used to be China's. One of the big concerns right now is that if Putin falls, China is going to literally launch an attack and reclaim the land that they lost during the Russo-Sino War.
China doesn't have enough land. Russia has a much smaller population.
Sorry, China doesn't have what?
And a lot of land, and China doesn't have enough land. Russia.
Enough for what? Huh? What does he think? Like the whole country is like Shanghai? Like something like, I want to say like 90% of the Chinese population is in the east in the cities, and the rural areas are just fucking vacant. They got plenty of land, dum-dum.
It's a much smaller population than China.
So Russia's got a lot of land and a smaller population. China has less land and a bigger population. So if they get together, China's going to take land from Russia. Ah, I see. Okay. That's clearly what he's thinking about. All right.
And it's sort of it was always a natural enemy situation.
Especially when they were at war, I guess. Yeah.
They're probably friendly now, but we're going to be friendly with both. I think we're going to be friendly with both. China needs us in terms of trade very badly, but we have to straighten out the deficit. We have now more than $1 trillion deficit.
Trade deficit.
Deficit with China. It's not even believable.
It's totally believable. We buy a lot of wholesale shit from there. We don't have fuck me. We don't have a consumer deficit with China of any real margin that we wouldn't, as a, the biggest economy in the world, wouldn't have with anybody. We have a wholesale deficit. We have like the shit that's bought and made in bulk in China that's sold over here to people by Americans to other Americans.
And we're going to be doing something about that.
Something. What? I don't know.
And with Russia, they would like to have some of our economic power.
Well, they can't have it. How about no? I'm sorry, was that on the goddamn table during the negotiations? Okay, if you only take half of Ukraine, I'll give you some of our economic power. I think he means to be in the SWIFT system again. But it's I have to say I had being on the cruise ship for a week. My idiot to English translator fell overboard, and I'm out of practice doing it just off the cuff.
The criticism that you've heard since really 2015.
Uh-oh. Mom. Here it comes.
Is that you have more in common with Vladimir Putin than you do with globalist leaders, maybe some NATO leaders, and in this case, with Zelensky. You're both nationalists. Zelensky's more of a globalist. How do you...
Putin's also a serial sexual assaulter, has, girlfriends and women, and, he's in different apartments in different countries, and had a relatively low salary, but magically has billions of dollars. God knows where it came from. You have that in common. And you're both, both of you look like elderly testicles peeking out of the leg of shorts.
Respond to that criticism?
Well, I am a nationalist, but I'm a nationalist for the United States.
Oh, I see. So that would be different from how he's a nationalist then. Thanks for making that important distinction. Yeah, so when she says globalist, she means Jew. Not
for anybody else. And it's interesting because there's nobody been tougher on Russia than me. I'm the one that pointed out Nord.
No. That you had to do the sanctions that the Senate, the House and Senate put on them. You didn't have a choice. You held out as long as you could. You expelled fewer diplomats, per capita than other European countries, and you were mad when we equaled the number. Like, no, you weren't. You might have even come close to being able to bullshit people about that since, but Biden obviously ratcheted all this shit up. There are more sanctions on Russia now than there were when you left. Period. End of story.
Stream 2, and I stopped it. Nord Stream is the biggest pipeline, I guess, in the world, taking care of all of Europe. And
no, it isn't. It never went online. Nord Stream 1 exists, and then there's a bunch of other ones, one that goes through Kazakhstan and Georgia. That's why Russia attacked Georgia, so that they could salami slice their way into Georgian territory, so that they could claim transit fees for an area that they had stolen as the pipeline from Kazakhstan went through there.
It was being built from before I got there.
Okay, he's been taking English lessons from Kevin O'Leary again.
And they were on the way. It was going to be, and I stopped it. It was just stone cold dead. I stopped it in its tracks. That's not somebody that's being particularly. It was the biggest project they ever had. I had it stopped.
I'd like to say for the record, you didn't have it stopped if it could be restarted. Secondly, according to all the assholes who like you online, Biden blew it up. I mean, literally blew it up. You, all the people on your side think Biden used the U.S. military to blow it up. Russia blew it up there on their own, by the way.
When Biden got in, he immediately approved it, like immediately.
Not like immediately. And again, they couldn't insure it. A lot of issues. Like, it's one of those, go ahead, waste your money, but it ain't going to happen.
First things he did in office was he approved Nord Stream 2. Nobody.
He doesn't have the right to approve Nord Stream 2. It's just business with Germany and we would sanction people who did business with them about these things. That's not approving it.
Never heard of Nord Stream until I was president. I said, what are you doing? You mean you're building a pipeline to Germany and various places in Europe?
Yeah, right next to the first one they built. That's why it's Nord Stream 2.
Paying them billions of dollars a month, and then we're paying a lot of money to fight them. This is not going to work out well.
Yeah, but we weren't paying billions of dollars at the time to fight them. We are now. That's why we blew it up, I guess.
And it stopped, and then Biden approved it, which was a really stupid thing to do, but he did it. And Putin actually said to me, if you're my friend, I'd hate to see you as my enemy. He said that very strongly.
Really, it was hard to, like, obviously it was difficult for you to hear over the, the pain and the tensing up of his actual fist in your ass.
I had, with all of that, I had a very good relationship with Putin. I had a very good relationship with President Xi, a very good relationship with...
Yeah. I mean, we saw it when COVID started happening. You're like, I trust him. He's doing a professional job. I mean, there are compilation videos of this asshole telling us all what a great job Xi Jinping was doing to curtail, and not only that, not only is he doing great getting rid of COVID, but they've got nothing as far as death toll. We totally believe their numbers. And it's going to be gone in the spring with the sunshine when I don't know how it works, when it's on a banister and it's gone. And if you just inject some bleach into your lungs and shove a light bulb up your ass, I got that. Hey, Xi Jinping told me that. That's apparently, he said he said something like ancient Chinese secret. I don't know. Anyways, or am I remembering an ad from the 80s? Anyway, he said that, and I trust him,
Jong-un of North Korea.
Who continued to make nuclear missiles the entire time you were in office?
Good relationships. And that's a positive thing. That's not a negative thing. But at the same time, I'm about our country. So that's why we're talking about tariffs. We'll be taking in trillions of dollars.
I want to get to the tariffs in a minute because we're going to first hit the other big news of the day, which was the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court issued what a rare statement about your suggestion on Truth that you posted earlier today that Judge James Boasberg should be impeached after he ordered those deportation flights to El Salvador halted, essentially turned around. The Chief Justice said it was more than two centuries. We understood that essentially impeachment was for very rare circumstances and not an appropriate response to rulings you disagree with. What's your reaction to the court's stepping in to make a statement here? They didn't make a statement when Joe Biden, decided to forgive all those student loans.
Well,
yes, they did. They heard arguments. They disagreed. They ruled, and Biden followed their ruling. And then they attempted to do it another way so that they could do it legally. They tried to, if the court ruled out one pathway, they said, okay, we'll try other pathways to try and get what we want to get done and see what's open to us legally. They didn't have to issue a statement like that because Biden never called for the judges that initially put the hold on it to be impeached, even though there were red state assholes who really don't give a shit about student debt. I don't even know why this is even ballpark. And by the way, there must be some sort of if you just say Biden would have never, or this is so much better than Biden, he hears Obama when you say Biden, so he likes it. Just make sure you compare everything he's doing to it's better than whatever Biden might have or would have or could have done.
He didn't mention my name in the statement. I just saw it quickly. He didn't mention my name, but many people have called for his impeachment, the impeachment of this judge. I don't know who the judge is, but he's radical.
Well, if you don't know who he is, then why would you say he's a radical left lunatic, blah, blah, blah. You don't even know his name. You don't know who he is. Then why would you call for the impeachment of something? Because you're an asshole. I don't even know why I'm asking these rhetorical questions, because obviously this is just classic Trump jabber.
Left, he was Obama appointed, and he actually said we shouldn't be able to take criminals, killers, murderers, horrible, the worst people, gang members.
No, he didn't.
Gang leaders, that we shouldn't be allowed to take them out of our country.
Nope, that's not what he said at all. He said, you got to let people know who you're taking out of the country, because you can't just disappear people out of the country and say, trust me, bro. If they turned out to be horrible gang members and criminals, and you had extradition, relationships with these countries, or even if you just quickly made them, the president could make an instant treaty with a one fucking phone call, even if we didn't have extradition with the country, to send them back to that place and go, we're sending them back. This court would still allow you to do it. Of course you can take them out. We don't even know that's who they were. There's no list of names. There's no list of what crimes they might have been involved. Like, at this point, they could be anyone. That's the issue. Yeah.
Well, that's a presidential job. That's not for a local judge to be making that determination. And I thought it was terrible. In fact, he said when they were well on their way, there was an order issued, as I understand it, to bring them back or to not let them go or something.
Or something. Jesus Christ, man. He's the king of knowing everything about shit he's never heard anything about. Can I just say, for the record, there's a very strong chance that those planes were empty or had nowhere near the number of people they're saying were in them. Because that's one of the issues he has. There's so many fewer actual criminal aliens in the country that they can't, they don't have enough to fill a bunch of planes and buses and shit like that. That's why they were using military planes, to make it look like there were hundreds of people being taken out of the country. If they turned the plane around and they had to make a real record of who was on it, and you're like, okay, what kind of complaint? There were 6 people. It was six people. That's and I tell you what. Do I know that's what went down? No, neither do you. And that was the problem that the judge brought up. Nobody knows who was on there. They could have been American citizens. They could have been a Blackwater style death squad that Trump extrajudicially sent to another country, and they used, immigrant flight plans to cover it. You don't know. Understand? So, in this particular instance, pardon me. I'm just going to say there were no criminal aliens on that plane at all. He's flying empty planes to South America to claim he's getting rid of bad guys. And the reason they don't list them, because wouldn't you think this asshole would have a problem bragging about this is so-and-so from Venezuela. Here's this picture of him with his fucking face tattoos. We found him working in on a dairy farm milking cows, and on the weekends he was slicing up teenagers for not distributing, I don't know, fentanyl to school children, right? You think they wouldn't show us? Yes, I'm chewing gum because it helps with my sore throat. My voice, my throat isn't actually sore, but it's dry, and I'm trying to. Sorry if it feels like I'm in school or something. Okay. Up your nose with a rubber hose. Is that mature enough for you? So, I'm just going to call it. The next reporter that talks to Stephen Miller needs to say to him, there are those who are saying there's no one on those flights, and these are publicity stunts. And when he goes, who's saying that? Hal Sparks is saying that. Hal Sparks is calling you out. I did. Me. My name, my show, my face, not some fucking anime, avatar on Twitter or some rando. Me. Directly. And now that I'm saying it, maybe some of you might ask the same questions. And therefore, Many are saying, many are asking, many tend to believe that you are not actually sending people out of the country. You are flying empty planes to other countries, or maybe you're sending them military aid, but you're using this as cover, and that there's no criminal aliens on these planes at all. Because if we don't know who's on them, how do we know anybody's on them? I'm not ready to jump to the idea that they might be innocent. I'm not even ready to jump to the idea that there's any fucking body in them. How about that? Just cut right to it. It's an empty plane. You want to prove me wrong? Give us a list who's on the fucking plane. Start listing the people. And I guarantee that leverage will work way better than saying you might be sending innocent people and American citizens, because they don't give a fuck. They don't care. If they look foreign, they're foreign. That's how these assholes operate. Yeah, prove me wrong. They're ghost flights. They're buying up Trump sneakers to make them look like people are buying them and flying them in planes down to South America and dumping them in a fucking river. That's what I say is happening. For the record. Period. I don't want to hear any shit about like these are the worst and terrible people. And no, there's nobody on those fucking planes. There's the flight crew, and then to turn around and coming back. It might be contraband. Maybe they're going down to pick up some flake for Don Jr. And they're supposed to, the flight crew doesn't know anything except they're supposed to pick up a package and drop it off at the airport near Mar-a-Lago, where it will be put in a van under presidential seal and driven to the mirrored ballroom in the basement of Epstein's house, where Trump magically still has a key. Prove me wrong. Dude, it's fucking March 19th. Have you seen the Hunter Biden's laptop? Has that shown up? Kash Patel's been in there for, a fucking month? The physical laptop, the actual anything, the record of actually having it. It's the FBI. There's 9 records deep of anything they actually took in. You don't think if it was actually there, they'd be like, here it is, fuck you, boom. Right? Nope. So, that's it. Again, I don't even give them the fucking benefit of the doubt that that there are people in these, period.
And this is not something that the country would stand for. These people, they were let in here by an...
They're not people. I don't believe they're people. These packages.
Incompetent president who had open borders and any...
Wait, how do you know if they're the worst of the worst? How do you know they've been clipped, I suppose? Thank you, Ali Osher. They've been... if they're the worst of the worst, they must have been in prison and found guilty of something already, right? Charged, found guilty of a crime. You know they're guilty. You know who they are, which means they've been through they were either in jail or in prison when you got them, which means Biden put them there.
Anybody throughout the world could come in, and we were given murderers. We were given people from mental institutions and prisons.
The judges...
We were given them?
Essentially saying, excuse me, Mr. President, that there still is a process in place. You can read.
You're doing it again. He's getting butthole mouth, and he gets it whenever a woman pushes back.
Between the lines. It hasn't been a full ruling yet. I know the Justice Department is appealing this on a couple of different grounds, but this is leading people to wonder whether there are court orders that you will defy because you believe that the judge has no jurisdiction or they're political questions and not justiciable at all. And what would you say to that? Are there circumstances where you would defy a court order?
Well, I think that, number one, nobody's been through more courts than I have.
Oh, God.
I think nobody knows the courts any better than I have. I would say
You're not a lawyer. Why don't you just go talk to my lawyer?
the chief judge does, but nobody knows them better than I have. And
What do you mean? You know where the coffee is? You know where the nearest shitter is, so Walt can hose you down?
what they've done to me, I've had the worst judges. I've had
What the fuck? This isn't you, motherfucker. This is whether or not you're taking human beings out of the country that have gone through due process. It ain't about you, dummy.
crooked judges. I have judges
That is true, though. Eileen Cannon is a crooked judge, I would say. I mean, it's his opinion, not mine.
that valued Mar-a-Lago at $18 million because that benefited his case, because he wanted to see me convicted of something. I have judges
Just something.
that were had relatives making millions and millions of dollars on the election, ruling on the election.
But going forward,
I had judges
would
that
you
were
defy
so
a court
corrupt.
order? Is that
Yeah, and by the way, these judges have nothing to do with your personal cases, you weirdo. This is about whether or not you can scoop up citizens, if indeed you are, and I would argue you are not, and spirit them out of the country and not tell people who they are. And we just have to assume they're non-citizens and take your word for it, which is not how, I mean, that would be kidnapping normally, just saying, even if the person is awful, it's still kidnapping.
we all know that? And that was
I
outrageous.
never did defy a court order.
And you wouldn't in the future.
No, you can't do that. However, we have bad judges. We have very bad judges.
Boo, fuckity who, and yes, you did.
And these are judges that shouldn't be allowed. I think at a certain point you have to start looking at what do you do when you have a rogue judge. The judge that we're talking about, you look at his other rulings, I mean, rulings unrelated, but having to do with me.
Wait, you don't know who this guy is. You don't know what he's about. You don't know much about the case. You only saw it in glancing. But his other rulings, Jesus.
He's a lunatic.
Okay, well, sure. Okay. Well, then why did you just say that at the top? You know, obviously. Well, clearly he was let in from a foreign country, from an insane asylum by Biden. And now he's a judge. What is this country coming to?
He wants details of when flights departed and trying to, I guess they seem to be trying to lay the predicate for your administration having defied a court order. Now, you all have said you haven't given specific times, and you filed a motion in court, your Justice Department, to prevent any more information getting out about specific times of flights. So that seems to be where this is going. Do you have faith that the Supreme Court ultimately will rule in your favor in this case?
I do, because the job.
Because I created a court that likes black sites.
Of getting people out of our country that are murderers, that are.
Cool. That's not what you're doing. You're flying empty planes down to South America and flying back with packages for Don Jr., as far as we know.
Absolutely the worst.
Now, granted, it might not all be cocaine. You might actually have children on them as well.
People, the drug lords, are causing such problems in this country. You know, drug lords came in, the biggest of them. They left other countries to come in here. They came through an open border. They're making millions of dollars destroying people's lives, killing people. And that's.
You didn't you pardon that lady who had like one of the biggest weed farms, and weed dealerships in pre-legalization, I think, in Georgia, and cocaine, and had hitmen killing for her to secure her territory, which is really the problem. I think most people have a problem with that part, not even the weed part, but the fact that, as a drug lord herself, there are guys in jail that helped her who are still in jail now. You pardon her, but not them, even though she ordered them to do what they did. Maybe? No? All right.
Presidential thing. We're supposed to be getting them out or getting them brought to justice. We had a
who?
Judge. I would call him a rogue judge. You can call him whatever you want. I know nothing about.
Yeah, he knows nothing about this rogue judge.
Him. I heard about this very late in the process, and I said, that's a strange order. You have local judges, local federal judges, period. And
local federal judges, yeah. Just some grandstanding Okie in the middle of Louisiana. Now, I don't let them government revenues come down here and tell us how to live our lives. I do invoke right now using this court order. I may be the court emeritus Shire Reeve of Lackawanna Socket Wrench County in Louisiana, but this order holds. He can take it up to the Supreme Court and tell them to wipe their ass with it. I'm no clack.
DAs and prosecutors, DAs, state attorney generals, attorney generals.
You mean like the ones that sued other states to change their election results?
Want to really take over, I think.
Hold on. What was that again? Like, hold on, I have to see what that. In the chat, if I were a drug lord, I would stay home in my freaking villa by the sea. Yeah, I think so too. I think the drug lords themselves. I mean, again, you have to understand. Trump has seen like half a Steven Seagal movie and part of Scarface and all of Silence of the Lambs. And his entire cultural reference comes from that window into American life. And maybe one full Hunter episode.
Some of it's for the publicity. They love the publicity. All of a sudden, they're on the front page of every newspaper, but they have no right to be.
Someone's projecting.
When we come back, President Trump
You had to do an edit there, didn't you?
reacts to the latest Doge news, and it's a court ruling. More of my interview with the president next.
Very exciting.
Now more of my interview with President.
But will there be more of your interview or more on my interview with the moron?
Trump. Moving on to Doge, Judge Theodore Chuang is a federal district court judge in Maryland.
Chuang.
Has ruled against the Trump administration's efforts, Mr. President, to shut down USAID, ordering the government on an accelerated basis to basically reinstate the agency's statutory functions.
She's reading this from a teleprompter over his shoulder. I would just like to say that. Not in the camera itself, but she's reading this. You can't have notes that this is what happened in your, and I mean, you know what? This is unfair of me. I apologize. I shouldn't have. She's just started. She's so new.
Your reaction to this development?
Look at the fraud that we've caught. We've caught so much fraud.
So much fraud. Oh, yeah, the fraud. Oh, my God. Tell us about the fraud.
Much waste. So many employees.
So much. There's so much waste. I barely have time to talk about the fraud other than to say so much.
That never showed up to work. And we have a judge from a very liberal state who ruled like that. So bad for our country.
So I guess they closed the department. They're going to have to reopen
well, we'll
the department.
be appealing it, I guess. Not I guess. I guarantee you. We will be appealing it. We have rogue judges that are destroying our country.
By making people at USAID go back to work at a department that Congress has to dissolve, the president can't. This motherfucker wants a line item veto for everything in the country. Get rid of that airport. I don't like that county. Like, this is not how it works, fuckwad.
Do you believe that at this point, given the totality of these lawsuits, it's a cavalcade of lawsuits, that your administration could be further hampered, your agenda could be slowed down? They're throwing monkey wrenches at you with these judicial rulings.
Well, we have to go through an appellate process. That takes a long time. We have a judge that...
Do you have time?
We have a judge.
That's the point.
We have time. We're going to be making a lot of money because of tariffs. The good news is we've got it on... We're going to very soon be on an...
Well, then why do you need to shut down USAID? Why do you have to go after waste, fraud, and abuse if you're going to make all this money from fucking tariffs? Right? For real. Why would you have to cut the... If they're going to take in so much money from tariffs, it's going to just be, oh my God, so rich, we might not even need an income tax anymore. Why would you have to cut anything? I mean, you could take your fucking time, right? You could go through it line by line. You could skate it. Just go, we made a list of stuff that probably doesn't need to work. Get to it when you can. Honestly, we're too busy counting money from the External Revenue Service.
Keel. We're going to be taking in a lot of money. The Trump card, the gold card, whatever they want to call it's okay.
The ass card.
I mean, whatever's going to sell better is fine with me. It'd be nice to get a piece, but I don't get a piece. Okay, I get nothing out of it. All I do is want to make this country successful.
Yeah, you do. Because you want no tax on tips. And what these guys pay you for getting their $5 million gold card, you're obviously going to go, hey, if you want to stick around, if you want it to last, you got to do some business with me on the side. Talk to my son. Of course you're going to get something out of it, you weirdo.
That's what I get. We're taking in tremendous amounts of money.
No, we're not.
Have car companies that are building here who 6 months ago were going to build in Mexico, massive plants. They're building them in the United States.
Yes, big, empty, automated factories with 12 employees. Cool. It's like, you want a factory in your town? Hey, remember that factory that used to employ everybody? Yeah, fuck that. We're putting in a giant refrigerator. It's the size of a skyscraper, and only a couple people can open it. Isn't it shiny? What, does anybody work at? No. A couple of, maybe some jobs, We're going to pay somebody who's going to physically turn the light on and off when you open the door. But it never happens. So he'll fly in once a year for the ceremony.
Honda is going to Indiana. We have them opening up in Michigan. It's amazing what's happening.
But for federal judges, district court judges, to order a sitting president to reinstate fired employees, you're the chief executive officer of the United States. Yeah,
it's not a business, dummy. You can't fire people that the board put in place on a company that, the CEO can't just wantonly, most of the time, can't wantonly fire people that the board has, especially when they have equal power. If the board has voting power on along with the CEO and the CFO, for example, or let's say the attorneys for the company have a say in it, that would be the equivalent here. You wouldn't be able to do anything without asking both the other parties first at all.
Order that these agencies
fired
be reviewed.
Employees, many of whom didn't even report to work.
How do you know? How do you know? What about the ones that did report to work and you're just firing them because other people didn't show up for work? Let me get this right. You're firing everybody to get back at the ones that didn't show up, including and especially the ones who were working and were probably in this fantasy land that you're created in your head, were doing the work of the people that didn't show up. So those people should be fired. Also, he just signed an executive order saying that Doge can't fire anybody anymore. That's up to the department heads. It's because they were all bitching. Even Sean Duffy.
Many of whom were scamming this country.
No, they weren't.
And you see the same thing. I could read them off, and I did during.
No, you did.
Various speeches. I read off deal after deal after deal, all big scams.
Has nothing to do with the employees of USAID.
And we have a guy that wants to make a name for himself. In many cases, they're just grandstanders. They want to make a name for themselves.
By being on the right side of history and knowing law and being a judge that actually stands up for the law. I mean, it's a heck of a way to make a name for yourself. I mean, it seems like a good plan.
So we'll appeal it, and hopefully we will meet with reasonable appeals. I've won great cases on appeals.
Yeah, well,
yeah, and you've lost a lot, too.
Maybe people weren't fired. Maybe they were temporarily put on suspended. So we'll see how this plays out. But
maybe that's what happened. He doesn't know. He's outsourced all the work, dummy. His job is to sign pages from Project 2025 and let Elon Musk do whatever he fucking wants on orders from Peter Thiel and J.D. Vance.
He's very unhappy with what happened at USAID.
Well, he shouldn't be. You know what he should do? He should really look at where the money went. They don't ever want to do that. The Democrats always talk about, our Constitution's been violated. The one thing that...
Yeah, it is a concern, yeah.
Never talk about is, where did these billions of dollars go? They never want to look, because when you see where the money went and the scams, you don't even have to see anything. Just look at the
You do need to see things.
heading and the scam.
Hold on. You just need to look at what? Hold on. You don't need to do anything. You just need to look at what?
Scams. You don't even have to see anything. Just look at the heading.
Hold on. Just look at the heading. What he means is, in some of these cases, they say diversity training. That's what he's talking about. And you can have your opinion about that, but it's you can think it's unfair. You can feel like emotionally it's a scam or something like that. But it ain't. It's a contract that was written, and it's either got to be paid out or justly terminated. And if it's justly terminated, it still probably has a payout attached to it, which means whatever work they were doing, you could go, I don't want that work done anymore. Fine. But it wasn't a scam. Period. Yeah, like the transgenic mice. Yeah.
And the scam that they've created. And a judge like him will never look at that. They'll just say, oh, you want to, it sounds so nice. USAID, isn't it beautiful? But it's a whole big scam, Laura.
It is. It's just, look at it. It says aid, and I don't like what they're helping. So it's a scam.
And a judge like that is so bad for our country.
Well, it'll be interesting
Just so bad for our country or destroying our country. That's going to be the refrain.
to see whether you're able to shrink the size of this government. Every Republican president has claimed a desire to. Even Obama said we have to find waste, fraud, and abuse. But you're actually doing it, and the judges are trying to stop you.
We're doing, by the way, we're doing it at levels never seen before.
Well, you're not doing it. Well, I guess the levels never seen before is like not at all, because you don't get points for getting rid of fraudulent payments or whatever when you just patently get rid of all payments in something. Because ultimately the damage you do by getting rid of the stuff that has value outweighs the savings from the shit that we might have been getting ripped off on if you don't do the actual fucking work.
Are setting fire to Teslas all across the country. Another horrible incident happened in Las Vegas last night. The FBI she plays my footage, is on the scene investigating, and there's an ongoing investigation.
Play my footage, Laura. Play it. Make me make money twice on this.
Being led by Pam Bondi. In what you've seen so far, do you consider what's happening an act of domestic political terrorism against one of your...
Wait a minute. You and your FBI say that our biggest threat is domestic terrorism, American citizens? So you're going to use the Justice Department to go after American citizens because that's the biggest threat we're facing? We got China, we got Russia, we got all this stuff, we got Hamas, we got Hezbollah and Iran, all this, but apparently Americans are the biggest threat. This is domestic terrorism is the biggest scary thing.
Allies.
So Elon is a patriot. And again, I hardly knew Elon.
Yeah, of South Africa.
Until the...
Oh, by the way, apartheid South Africa, not South Africa now.
Election. And he turned out that he liked me better than he liked these radical lunatics that were in it. Better than Kamala, better than Joe, because he's an intelligent person. And he backed me, and he went... And he got very much involved. He thought
he backed me, and he won. Listen to that. You're talking about we don't get a lot of, because there's so many slips that come out of him that are just dumb. We miss the Freudian ones occasionally.
Person. And he backed me, and he went, and he got very much.
He backed me, and he won. VP Trump telling it like it is.
Involved. He thought he actually would go around saying, if Trump doesn't win, our country is over.
But do you consider...
Right. So that was enough for you to give him permission to have access to everyone's private financial data.
It's an act of domestic terrorism.
I think so.
Why?
I think that if and when they catch the people, and I hope they do, the good thing is they have a lot of cameras in those places, and they've caught some already having to do.
Well, and then they've got some citizen camera people that have a great eye. I'm just saying
that. I think that you will find out that they're paid by people that are very highly political on the left.
Meanwhile, it's because of Elon.
Or I love Tesla. Right. Thanks, Steve. Or it could just be Elon paying people to pretend to gain sympathy and to save his company some money because he's not selling cars by just setting them on fire and getting the insurance. I mean, it'd be pretty easy. Here's what I'm going to say. The planes that Trump is flying to South America are empty when they leave, and when they're returning, they're full of children and cocaine. I want to be proven wrong. I want to be proven wrong. And any unsolved Tesla fire was started on direct orders from Elon Musk, clearly. I want to be proven wrong, but I mean, how can you come to any other conclusion? Well, you got Trump, you got Pam Bondi, you got Kash Patel, the legal system, you got Tulsi Gabbard as head of the DNI. The legal system and the intel in the United States has never been headed up by more competent and intelligent, smart, and caring, and patriotic people ever. Not ever. No one's even close. They're the most qualified people ever. And if they can't catch these people, that's because someone's telling them not to. That's the only thing that makes sense. It's the only thing that makes sense.
On Musk, everything he did with SpaceX, that those astronauts stranded for 9 months, they're finally coming home. Mr. President, your reaction to what's unfolding?
So when I came in office, I said, Elon, we got to get them out. You have a rocket ship handy?
And he was like, what?
How many people have a rocket?
Oh, you mean the mission we've been setting up since last August?
And Biden left them up. He abandoned them. You know, we could have done this sooner.
Yeah, but that's the thing about Biden. He really just had he just hated astronauts. I mean, it's not his fault. When he was a kid, the Wright brothers were burned as witches.
But Biden didn't want to because he was embarrassed by what happened. So they were up there. They were supposed to be there.
Why would you not want to? Why would you not want to get them down if it was? If you're embarrassed, would you get them down sooner? I mean, the idea would be that you would send somebody up and they weren't ready. You'd force Boeing up and the thing would blow up like the Challenger and have that on you. One would think.
For a few days, they were there for many months. And now they're coming back. But think of it. Elon's able to do that with his genius and
with other people's genius.
You have people
and taxpayer money.
Hate it.
And NASA. No. They don't hate that. They don't hate SpaceX and like rocket ships and NASA, any of that stuff. They hate the Nazi salutes and the eugenics talk and the brain chipping and the fact that he can't have a government, a company that has profits if it doesn't have a government contractor, isn't kept afloat by government loans. And then thinks government workers don't do anything and are lazy. Anybody who takes a government paycheck is a fucking mooch off the taxpayer, except him.
I really believe these are people that hate our country.
Well, simple minds. It's more than just a band.
Big problem. But there aren't so many of them. There are many more that love our country.
Great. Good to know. 1-to-1.
They love our country now more than they have maybe ever in their lives. There's never been a movement like MAGA, like America First, call it whatever you want to call it.
The Fourth Reich?
This is the greatest movement in the history of politics.
What's the next stop for
so I guess when you go, it's over? Cool.
astronauts? Are they going to be coming to the White House?
No, they're going to, number one, have to get better. When you're up there and you have no pull in your muscle, you have no gravity, you can lift 1,000 pounds like this.
You have no pull on your muscle.
They have to get better. It's going to be a little bit tough for them. It's not easy. They're up a long time. And when they do, they'll come to
Mark Kelly would like a word.
the Oval Office.